Well, the weather for the whole of the south of England will continue as it has for the next few weeks. It's going to be hot and moist, with temperatures rising steadily as time goes on. There's a chance of steamy moments as we move into the... sod it. We never wanted to do this. We never wanted to be weathermen and women making innuendos about hot atmospheres and drizzly countries. We didn't want to be child-friendly. We didn't want to bang on about being for over 18s only. We want to talk about our sexy adventures. We want to be lifestylers, leaping from bush to bush as we sail down the rivers of British sex clubs and mountains of crazy experiences. The cheeky purple mamba, the liquid silk pumped liberally into our hand, the rodeo classic brief harness complete with Tantus curve, the Enjoy Pure One stainless steel dildo, the hot octopus digit, the ever so short messages on Fab Swingers, the sexy friends on Twitter, and the mighty vanilla alternative. With my best girlie by my side, we'd swing, swing, swing.
Get in the gym or to your car. With our advice, you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes. And talk about our sexy dates. It's getting hard for this to rhyme. Just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time.
Hello and welcome to episode 97 of the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name's Mr. H.
I'm Mrs. H.
Thank you for joining us today. This is part 2 of our OnlyFans special.
Part 2.
Part 2. Hot Shots Part 2.
I love that film.
Really? There's no surprises there. If you've not seen Hot Shots Part 2...
Yes, I have. You're going to ask me what it's about, aren't you? Don't. No. You haven't got time.
I was going to say, if you've not seen Hot Shots Part 2, go and see it.
Oh, I thought you meant I hadn't seen it and you were challenging my memory of films.
I've watched it with you.
Oh, cool.
A number of times.
Definitely seen it.
Anyways, housekeeping before we jump into the thrust of our interview. We're thinking about resurrecting, like a phoenix from the ashes, the Bed Hoppers Social.
Oh, yes.
So we are working with the venue to work out the best date that we can do it. We're thinking sometime sort of end of August, beginning of September. So
I reckon beginning of September.
Yeah, well, it sort of suits your birthday as well, doesn't it?
It does suit my birthday.
Conveniently, we're going back to the same place for your birthday.
Oh, gosh, yes. Well, I couldn't remember anything after my 40th. Brilliant.
There's a reason you couldn't remember anything.
Yeah, everyone bought me a drink.
Yeah.
That's absolutely trashed.
Yeah.
Best party ever.
Well, and I was spending the whole time wandering around as Ken from Street Fighter.
Absolutely.
Shoryuken.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And all that other stuff. Anyways, we'll let you know as soon as we know about the dates of the social. Once it's back on track, we'll message everybody who's already paid us for tickets. We've still got the cash.
Does that mean that the world is starting to slightly return to normal?
Well, that's the hope.
That is the hope.
If you're in the UK, there is a timeline.
There is a roadmap.
There is a roadmap, what Boris has given us.
Yeah.
That says when and where we can go out and...
When you can touch people on the face.
And other places.
And other places.
I don't think there's a particular roadmap to the other places.
Well, there should be.
Yeah, there should be. Maybe it's bases. Like, week 1 you can get to base, first base.
Yeah,
week
first
2
base.
you can get to second base.
In which case, fourth base doesn't happen until after the 21st of June.
I'm looking forward to the mysterious 8th base.
Oh, wow. What's 8th base?
It's the hidden fortress. I don't know where it is, but I'm going to find it and fuck it.
Does it involve wearing a mask and...
yes, but
using some sanitizer.
It's only a mask from Mask, the Mobile Armoured Strike Command from back in the 80s.
Only you would know that.
Yeah. I also know that Venom stands for the Vicious Evil Network of Miles Mayhem.
Oh my God, could you be any more nerdy?
Crusaders working overtime, fighting crime. Anyways, so yeah, social doing that. We got a plan in this country to get things back to normal, so that's what we're aiming to do.
And no one about to mess around with it.
No, don't fuck it up, UK people.
God's sake.
Yeah, behave. Just keep it in your pants until that point.
Wash your pants and your hands.
Thank
and
you,
all
baked
that.
potato. Wash your pants, clean your face. Thank you.
You're not doing that song.
No, okay, fine.
Absolutely not.
Anyway, on today's episode, we have the delightful, the wonderful, the fabulous Nerdy Introverts.
Oh, wow. That was quite a lead in, wasn't it?
Well, it was, wasn't it?
Fabulous, wonderful.
Delightful, fabulous, wonderful. Other,
Other amazing ways to describe people.
Yes, they're brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, the Nerdy Introverts join us to talk about their journey with OnlyFans. Last week, or last episode, we got some great feedback on the OnlyFans stuff we did with Soul of an Angel and Curious Kitty. So if you haven't checked them out or checked that episode out, go and do that.
Cool.
It's not necessary to hear this one. You know, you can listen, but, you know, it might give you some views of OnlyFans from people that are just starting out in that world, flipping over to the more experienced side of things with the Nerdy Introverts.
Who aren't so nerdy or introverted.
Well, they are a little
actually,
bit.
they're quite nerdy.
And quite introverted.
But we make them less introvert when we talk to them.
Well, to be fair, one of them is drinking port by the pint. So hopefully
once it's not me.
Yeah, hopefully that comes across in the interview. Anyway, Mrs. H, play your thing.
We've got something that's just for you. Holy shit, it's an interview.
So joining us today, we have the Nerdy Introverts. We have got both of them. I'm going to call them Mr. Introvert and Mrs. Introvert. Is that okay? Will that do?
That
That
works.
sounds good.
Thank you for joining us today and for agreeing to those ridiculous nicknames. We'll do the best that we can. We can always upgrade them midway through if we need to.
Would you like me to think of some nicknames?
I would like you to think of them, but
maybe not tell them.
well, yes. Are we just going to throw some words out and let them guess?
No.
Who
You know I
think-
have way more
Response to
creative
what?
nicknames than that.
Are you thinking of a
We'll check it
number?
out on Twitter. We can get a vote. We get a vote for nicknames.
Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. We've brought you on today to talk a little bit about your journey and also OnlyFans.
Yeah. And not only flans.
OnlyFams.
Yeah, or only pans.
I like only clams. It's a very particular site. Very, very
Very
particular.
niche.
Yeah.
Very, very niche, yeah.
Niche isn't the word, I don't think. So, folks, you've been on OnlyFans for a couple of years now. What was your journey into starting that? How did you come about with the idea? Where did it come from?
I think it was a case of we'd been on Twitter for a little while before then.
Yeah.
About a year ago on Twitter, and we'd just been observing everybody else's behaviour and what they were doing, and then found OnlyFans, and I'd always thought it was this seedy, horrible tool that people just made memes about on other social media platforms. So as soon as it was like, oh, maybe I should research into this because everyone else on Twitter's doing it, it suddenly became...
I think we'd lost our Twitter account, hadn't we? So we'd built a Twitter account and got to about 10,000. And then Twitter had decided to ban that Twitter account.
That was just a sad...
It was a really sad day. I remember we were in London, weren't we?
We went to London for a social. And
a failed social event, and then we came out of that event and found out our Twitter of 10,000 fans had been deleted. So we created a new one, and with that, I think came OnlyFans, because I think in the first one we were a bit, everything went on it. We were a bit, okay, you can have all our content. And then the second time around, we were a bit more cautious, I suppose. So it gave us a layer of safety as well.
Mm.
But yeah, it's a couple of years.
Did you already know people who did OnlyFans? Did that kind of inspire you to join, or...?
Not really. I mean, I know, friends from other circles that have them, but not necessarily for the nefarious purposes that we might have ours for. Like, a lot of fitness people use it, actually, which is an interesting use of the platform. And so I knew of it from that purpose, but no one was so forthcoming with what else they were posting on OnlyFans.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was anybody, was there? Like, we're kind of quite techy and quite digital and quite savvy, so we might not be on platforms, but we're aware of most of them just because of our, like, what we're interested in and stuff.
Because we're nerdy.
Because we're nerdy, so we knew of OnlyFans, I think, and I think we were looking for a paywall, essentially, like a safe place to put content, which to access it, there had to be a little bit of validity, and therefore that came in a financial transaction and somebody going, here's my credit card details, because then there's a little layer of protection on that. So I think that's why no one really inspired us to get on it, apart from each other.
Ah, well, there you go. Each other.
Yeah, I think so.
And pure intrigue, really.
Who brought it up?
We like showing off.
Which of you two said, let's do this? What was the spark?
I think I set it up, actually. And I was really apprehensive because obviously it asks you when you do it to add your credit card details or your bank details so that you can either send money to pay for other people's accounts or make money. And I was like, ooh, I've been told not to put my card details into strange websites on the internet. I did it anyway.
Yeah. Got a credit card.
Yeah, and then I think we got drunk and just spoke about it more on a night out. And then it just happened.
Yeah, I can't really remember, so it must have been you.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember it happening. One day we had one, so I assumed you just, got really horny and thought, fuck it.
Yeah, it must have been that.
One of you more introverted?
I think I'm more introverted than you are.
I think I'm better at pretending I'm not.
Yes, you've got a good fake extrovert persona.
It's not fake, it's a real persona, but it's it's one I have to force out. I have to kind of act upon and be in the mood to. My natural instincts are to be like, no, I want to be on my own, not around people.
But that works for me because I am so introverted that your extrovertedness in that instance means I can just sit back.
Yeah. I think she is more introverted than I am, for sure.
So
but you also have your kind of comfort. You're not introverted. You're not shy. You're introverted. It's a difference. It's a different thing. Like, you like people looking. You like to show off. You like to be that persona.
I do.
But you are introverted in that you'd rather not talk to anybody whilst doing it. So that's true. Even today, just before this call, we're in the kitchen, and she was like, "Oh God, I hate being so introverted because I just don't want to do it. But the minute I'm doing it, I know I love it." So, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that is generally it.
I'm a self-aware introvert.
Yeah.
So you decided to go on OnlyFans. You had the idea. What's the first bit of content that you put out there? And how do you decide what you're going to put out and what you're going to show?
I think the first photo I posted was like a really conservative photo, actually. I think it was just a full, just underwear, nothing special photo that I posted on the wall.
I think underwear's special.
Well, underwear is lovely, especially mine. But it was just like quite a generic photo that we might have otherwise posted on Twitter. Because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what we could get away with yet.
Yeah, video-wise, I don't know. Like, we'd have to look back.
It's been a while.
Look back through it. I imagine it was something we filmed just that was on our phone already. So I don't think it was anything filmed for OnlyFans. It would have been a piece of content that we had ourselves, because like making sexy content is like, it was in our relationship well before OnlyFans and Twitter. It existed just between us forever. Yeah. So yeah, it's just more people see it now.
And how do you decide what content that you put on the site?
That's a very good question.
Thanks. You're pretty good like that.
Well,
Fifth Amendment to this awesome question. I don't think we decide what content we're going to put on OnlyFans. We get into a period where we're horny, and then we decide that we want to edit some video that we've got sitting on our camera roll, which was filmed over a year ago, 6 months ago, last week. And that normally snowballs, to excuse the pun, into more video editing. So like once we kind of start doing that, we start producing more and more. So actually it's less of a case of we've made this video, now let's put it on OnlyFans. It's a case of like we're in that moment of horniness. We make the video together. That's quite an erotic. That's quite a hot thing. Like editing yourself having sex is pretty hard. And then it goes on, I suppose. There's no routine to it. There's no scheduling. There's no, we must have one a week or one a day.
Well, sometimes we'll sit there of an evening and be like, let's make some content tonight for OnlyFans. And generally we'll, move to whatever part of the house we're going to get a bit frisky, and we'll just end up getting frisky and completely forgetting to take photos. That it never turns into an actual dedicated time to make content. It just happens to be that we'll pick up the phone midway through and take a photo or a video.
Yeah, I agree. That happens a lot now. We go with the intention of making content, and then we just fuck. Don't make content.
But surely
the
act of picking the phone up halfway through to film yourselves doing something is part of the fun anyway, and the appeal, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. You just sort of see an angle and it's like, woo, yeah.
Yeah, it's a voyeuristic thing. I think you're looking at yourself through a slightly different lens, like a flat 2-dimensional lens. So you're looking at what's going on a little bit kind of almost subjectively or out of context in a funny kind of way. So
it's quite fun to try and separate out during that moment as well, where like looking through the lens or the screen, because it's a screen these days, and being actually in that moment and trying to sort of pick yourself into both mindsets. It's like, oh, I'm watching and this is well hot, and I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's us.
It's the same as a mirror, isn't it? It's the same as why people have mirrors above their bed or in front of a mirror, so they can see themselves fucking. So it's that, just in a digital format, I think.
I want a mirror above our bed.
When the battery runs out on your phone, you're fun.
A camera in every room, please.
It's sort of Big Brother the whole house just to save setting anything up. It would be much easier.
That's a great idea.
I thought about that.
A bit creepy maybe, but yeah.
No.
24-hour live stream.
Too many unflattering angles. Like, if too many unflattering angles, naturally, you have to...
It's a lot of editing. A lot of editing, guys.
Maybe that's why we don't have one, dear, because I'd be like, nope, you're not having that. Nope, can't have that. No, edit that, please.
It's because you
There's
wouldn't
not
edit
enough hours
anyway.
in the day to Photoshop me.
Well, that's actually been something with OnlyFans, getting over that concept. Because I would have, at the beginning, I was like, yeah, shove a filter on, soften out my skin a little bit. And now it's like, no, actually, I realise the better angles are sometimes the ones I wouldn't, choose myself out of a selection of photographs. But they're the ones people get off to most, and I get off to most, actually, because it's real.
I think that's the difference, isn't it? The minute you start contriving it too much, then it loses its authenticity, for a buzzword. Yeah, I think we try and be as natural as possible. So
because ultimately, our OnlyFans really is for us.
It is. Yeah. You're right. Fair point.
Well, if you're not enjoying it, then ultimately, what's the point? I think it kind of you could make some money, but to what end? And if you don't enjoy what you're doing, assuming this is a side thing and not your main career choice, then actually you kind of want to get the most out of it and enjoy those things. I'm curious though, what's the reception been from people? Have you had interesting comments back? What have people said?
Real people or online people?
Online people. Let's start with online people. We'll move to real people
Online
soon.
people are real as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
I know they are. Some of them are real. Some of them are bots from Russia. I mean, online goods, good.
Like, never had any hate.
No, we've never come across anything which has been particularly upsetting or disturbing online, which is touch wood. That was
right.
That was weird. I was touching. Nothing too disturbing online.
No, we've had quite a good run of it, actually, considering all the horror stories you can hear in life. But real people, that's more interesting, I think. So real people, there's been probably we don't go around telling everybody our sex life, of course, in the same way that no normal straight monogamous couple would go around telling anyone about their sex life. But the people we have spoken to it, we've had a couple of girls that we've met who have since gone on and made Twitter accounts and OnlyFans accounts. So they kind of felt some kind of liberation, sexual liberation, or like they're single women and they found this platform kind of liberating and they joined it. Some of them have done well and some of them have kind of struggled to keep it up because it's a fun thing to do, but it becomes monotonous a little bit over time. It's what we call our sex admin.
Admin. But generally, the people we speak to who are open and who know us love it.
Yeah.
I'm really kind of a bit jealous, I think.
They are.
Sometimes.
I mean, my mum knows. My mum's impressed because obviously we make some money from it. And I think she was more like, oh, how do I get involved?
Oh, my God.
She can't get involved.
You don't, no.
Not here. That's not my thing.
So have you told all your family and friends then, or is it a select group of people broadly?
I mean, my family know, but that's because my relationship with my family is slightly more open. I don't know, I'm quite close to my family, so they know because I can't keep secrets. I've tried. But I'm also really, despite being an introvert, quite a blabbermouth, so I like to just tell people. I also find the success in it quite fun, so I just feel like, Mum, look what I made today. But you don't tell your family because that's not the relationship you would have.
No, they know we're polyamorous. They know, none of that's a secret. But in terms of, do they know we sell essentially our sex tapes online, is what one would call it. So sex tapes. No, they don't. Mine don't. So we've got some friends who, I say friends, we've got some single females that are in our lives that know about it and we can talk to about it. But generally it's our day-to-day circle isn't that close to it. We kind of liberated ourselves just before lockdown, and then lockdown happened. And we'd like to think by now we'd have a lot more friends and circles of people that we can just talk about stuff with all the time, but that isn't the reality of our lives. So hurry up. Sorry.
It's definitely some common themes, aren't there, with lockdown has ruined everything.
Yeah, I think that's been the year of the last 18 months, quite frankly, or however long it's been. Has it not been 6 years now, I think?
Oh, God. I was going to say, I have noticed some common themes, though, talking to people about OnlyFans. And what's really struck a chord with me is that everyone I've spoken to so far has said that they do this because they enjoy it. And as soon as it stops becoming fun, then it's not something they would want to do anymore. So, and I was actually really not surprised, but it was a nice aside I wasn't expecting to hear in a way. It was almost like, oh, cool. So you genuinely do it because you really enjoy doing what you're doing and putting content out there because it turns you on.
But you know, as life is, we get a bit bored of Twitter, of OnlyFans sometimes, just because the world's a bit depressing or, you know, things happen. So we did, like, our days where I can go about posting on the OnlyFans, but then I usually get an email. It's like, oh, you haven't posted in 6 days. Post or we'll take your account down. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you suddenly get back into it because actually you realise the fun and it's a nice mood booster, a positive thing that sometimes you just forget about because life gets in the way. So actually, it's been really
I think it depends how you use it, doesn't it? Like, it's okay for it to be, you know, when you're not enjoying it, don't do it. And when you are enjoying it, do it. That's okay if that isn't your financial crutch and that isn't what you're paying the bills with. And we're fortunate enough that that isn't the case. Like, you know, the money that comes out of it isn't, we're not dependent on it in the slightest. It's just kind of a byproduct of what we do.
It's pocket money.
It pays for the new double glazing that we just as we need. It's what it pays for. It's not sexy, it's double glazing.
And a dishwasher.
And a dishwasher. So thank you. But I don't know if I answered your question. I drank a glass of port.
I don't know if I remember my question. So
good grief. Everyone pull together. I'm curious though. You mentioned monogamous couples and you mentioned being poly in those last couple of answers. So I'm assuming that you're not monogamous. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
No, we're not. We're if we had to define ourselves, we define ourselves as polyamorous. It's the closest definition we have
so far
to what we feel we have.
Yeah, labels are a tricky one.
Yeah, labels are a tricky one.
But we know we're ethically non-monogamous.
Yeah, so it's hard to explain, isn't it? I've never spoken too much out loud about this. Ultimately, we see the options to love more people and to have more people in our lives and to have our lives enriched by more than sexual relationships, by other relationships as well. Mm-hmm. So we see that as unlimited. And although there's only 2 of us, so there isn't a third in our polyamorous world, there's a couple of thirds on the periphery. That would be nice to have as a third, but lockdown, fuck that up. So we've been polyamorous since day one.
Mm-hmm. That's how we started our relationship.
Yeah, we were friends first. We discussed the issues of monogamy in relationships. It caused us both some kind of pains and issues in the past. And
then we kind of just sort of merged together.
It's odd, isn't it? Because polyamory wasn't the definition. When we started talking about it, we didn't know about polyamory. All we ever spoke about was not wanting to be in a relationship. Right, and that was the terminology we kind of used. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship.
Which was actually quite saddening as you start to get closer and closer. It's like, oh, well, you know, if relationship's a term, I do kind of want to be in a relationship with you.
The reality was we wanted to be in multiple relationships, not one monogamous relationship where there was guilt attached to maybe having feelings for other people. And yeah, since day one we've been poly.
Yeah.
Or ethically non-monogamous or whatever.
It's such a snappy title, isn't it? It's a real mouthful to get your head around.
It is. And we're quite open about it and quite proud of it, actually. Like in our normal lives, in our work life, in our social life, we try and promote it. You know, there might be a thing at work we have to do, and we'll happily speak about it and try and educate people across our normal social feeds, not just our kind of nerdy introvert stuff. So
it intrigues many people, doesn't it?
It does intrigue many people. I'll tell you who intrigues most. Divorced women who've been in marriages for a long time. That's who it really intrigues.
Is this a market we need to be cornering? Is this a secret look into the world here?
Yeah, but since being poly, I always describe poly as like, I think it's easy to mix it with multiple sexual partners, and being like poly is you can sleep with anybody you want to sleep with. When really, like, sex is the byproduct of what being poly is. And actually, we enjoy the openness, the communication, the ability to say we like that person or this person's interesting to us and not feel any pressure to do that. That's more liberating for us.
And to understand that we're not, you know, I can't rely on you to be everything for me and you the other way around.
Rude.
But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, totally.
It's a realistic view on life, I think, personally.
I describe ourselves as like the most monogamous, non-monogamous couple, poly couple, in that actually our polyamory has brought us tighter together. Like,
yes,
more trust. And like, I mean, it's obvious to us that it brings those things, but to an outsider, you'd think, oh, maybe it doesn't bring those things. But it brings more trust. And
I mean, I feel like it's an achievement that in all the years we've been together, we've never had a fight.
That's nuts, isn't it? Have one after this bottle of port.
Just to see if you can like withstand it.
Yeah. So poly to us is it's a mental health thing, and then it's a sex thing, I think, in a funny kind of way.
I actually do love that we've heard that referred to before, haven't we? That people sometimes view swinging and non-monogamy and all its wonderful spectrums as an alternative therapy.
The important thing that we've found is that actually a lot of this ethical non-monogamy, you know, if you're kind of secure in your relationship, can really make that relationship stronger. And I think that's been something that we've really taken home with us. I think, you know, we spoke to Cooper Beckett a little while ago. Apologies for not mentioning you on that show. We should have done. Sorry, hands up.
We did listen intently.
Yeah, I know. And you've mentioned it before. Thanks for trying. But actually I really think there's a spectrum of this whole non-monogamy piece, with sort of poly and those relationships on one side and the sort of almost like the dogging aspects right down the other. And most people sort of fit on that train somewhere, or that line
scale, I suppose.
And sort of describing where you fit in that world can be quite tricky, because everyone has a slightly different view of that definition. Ironic for definitions, I know.
I know that.
and I know we've spent some time trying to define some of those, but no one will ever agree on those bits. But what I really like is actually the value that everyone we've spoken to, certainly that are on those spectrums, they found it a really wonderful thing, or that it can be a really wonderful, exciting thing that has brought them closer together. Whether, you know, regardless whether at the end where they just rock up in a car in some woods, or whether they have, you know, hundreds of different lovers that they or go dating with tons of different people. So, as long as they're happy and everyone knows where they are on that page, that element has brought them some joy, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a nice way to put it.
Sorry,
I'd start monologuing a bit there.
It's true of anything in life, and relationships is just one of those things.
It is.
The more you can be throughout anything, the more you enjoy, I think. So, yeah, I see it as a spectrum. Like, polyamory is an annoying term to me, because it makes, as a man, it insinuates certain things. Like, as a poly man, I get a little bit of slack, a little bit of trouble on platforms like Tinder and things like. Even though I'm honest and I'm like, I'm poly, I've got a partner. I get a lot of.
You get so much hate.
A lot of name calling and hatred from females mainly.
Wow.
Which is upsetting sometimes, but I've learned to forget that.
I think there is something in what you're saying, though. It is tricky, especially if you're a guy. I think there is an assumption in the world that you're kind of up to no good, and that you're just sticking a label on the fact that you're up to no good. So just because you've called it something and the world agrees that's what it is, it's still up to naughty business that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, he gets that stick on Tinder or dating apps all the time, because the women would be like, well, you know, she doesn't really like this, like talking on behalf of myself, who they've never spoken to. And this has happened.
We've got some classic stories where this has happened in real life, not even on virtually. Like, yeah.
A lot of women suddenly go into this mode of protect other women, but do it in a way to prove man is wrong. And that is how it goes. Yeah. And it really pisses me off to have someone talk on my behalf when they don't know me, and they just assume that because I am just this, like, you know, there's an age gap in our relationship, I'm this younger woman, so they think that I'm just being swayed into this, and I've just fallen in love with this man and I'm going to do anything he wants. And it's like, well, actually, I have my own opinions, my own wants in life.
Yeah, you do. Unfortunately, you do.
I'm not weak.
You're not weak at all.
I'm quite strong-willed.
No, I think there can be a bit of stigma. There's stigma attached to anything, isn't there? You can be anything and there's stigma attached to it. I could be a Tory and there's stigma attached to it. Like that is
just a bit these days.
Like I'd rather have the stigma attached that I've got than maybe the stigma of a Tory. So I think being a man is slightly tricky. Being a slightly older man as well is slightly trickier. Like I have to navigate the path of not trying to look like I'm instigating a whole kind of, I don't know, like taking advantage of a pretty young girl or any of those things. Someone else.
Well, you know,
so, yeah,
how do you think I feel? I'm deemed as some cougar, I think.
Yeah,
a cradle snatcher.
But that's the first question, and we've said this before that we always get asked with people that know us. They immediately
do to you?
ask. They take me away from Mrs. H and say, "Mr. H, are you okay? Has she forced you into this situation? Blink 3 times if you need us to remove you from this."
From this doll where he touched
fighting
you.
his women off.
It is. It's, every time. It's never not been that way.
No. It really hasn't. I've got this awful label of some awful cradle snatching Mrs. Robinson that's kind of forced you into this life of ill repute. And
I am as innocent as the daybreak, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I've seen you fighting 3 women off. It's awful. Poor thing. How do you cope?
A lot of orange juice.
There is a stigma. There's definitely a stigma attached, isn't there? In our world, where it's a slightly harder fight sometimes. And I've heard you guys speak about it before in terms of like people saying you're really lucky. You're lucky to have her, or
such a trigger phrase for me.
Yeah, just looking at how well like men's posts do against female posts. Like, I know you're a big advocate for this kind of actually we're equal in this, and it shouldn't just be one-sided. And yeah, I feel the same.
Will this mean that we see you starting up your own Nerdy Introvert OnlyFans page? Only mans.
I have requested that he does. He doesn't believe anyone would subscribe, which is, sad. I'd subscribe, but for free.
Requested. I do have one, but mainly to follow yours.
Yeah.
So I can actually see what you're doing, because I don't have access to your OnlyFans.
I didn't give you a login.
No,
those conversations are for me.
I know that, and that's okay.
But making him pay to access the stuff was much.
I don't think so, personally.
Shame.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Like, to be honest, it's ours to some degree. Like, we set up the profiles as the first profile we had that got taken down by Twitter wasn't identified as female or male. It was a couple's profile, and that's what we had. And then when we lost that, we created 2, so we had a backup. Smart. So that's really why. But actually, it's us. She is the pretty one that people want to look at, not necessarily me. So I'm like an extra.
You're like
That's
a bonus feature.
Myself.
Yeah, you're like the making of documentary that they chuck in on a DVD.
Literally, if there's an inch of my skin in a photograph that she's in, doesn't do that well. So she's better off without me, to be honest.
Oh my God.
That sounds so sad. I mean, you've benefited,
I've got new windows.
And a dishwasher.
We have fans and only fans that will go further and use the Amazon wish list that we have set up, and you've benefited from that.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. We have many a thing in there that's, some are sexy items, some's a box of the chocolate, some's a Nintendo Switch.
The benefits for me are seeing her do her thing. Like, actually, the benefit for me is seeing that freedom, liberation, and excitement that she gets from doing it. So I don't need to do it to get almost a kick out of something, because actually I enjoy her doing that.
And also because other men will buy me like lingerie, and you won't have to buy me lingerie.
I don't have to buy lingerie that often.
That's so interesting, though. How would you feel then if and obviously it would never happen, but if there was an OnlyFans for Mrs. H?
Wouldn't work for me.
Exactly. And
it just
why?
Wouldn't work for me.
Because of that equal
I think because for me it would emphasize that unequal balance far too much for me, and
which already irks you anyway.
The other thing is that you wouldn't run it, so so
But if I could get a Nintendo Switch, I might work it out.
You've already stolen my Nintendo Switch.
Reappropriated.
Yeah, reappropriated maybe, but still, I noticed that most.
Put a poll out to see if that's a wanted thing.
But the thing is, it probably would be. But then,
So it will be.
The difficulty is that Mrs. H wouldn't edit the videos or edit the photos or wouldn't take
videos?
them. Yeah, you wouldn't interact with people.
I'm out.
So it would be me running around doing all this stuff for every other fucker to comment on how much they love my wife. Now that's fine.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, I that's great if you can mentally handle that. That's for me. That would send me over the edge.
Yeah, I agree. It would.
Because I'm an attention whore myself, and I can't achieve that level. So for that reason, I'd be like, no, fuck it. If you want to do it, you do it by yourself. I'm not,
So that's my next question.
Both set one up? Why don't you both set one up and she's got to run her own, you've got to run your own, and then that way you might actually win because you're going to put more energy into it.
Because even if I put all the energy and creative ability that I've got and the content and all this sort of stuff, they'd still want to just see pictures of you. So ultimately, it would be a failed experiment for me. And it
what if we did an OnlyFans, but with me holding Transformers?
That would see, right?
And that would benefit you.
No,
because
why would you hold my Transformers?
Because then your Transformers would get the adoration that you
I'm
feel
waiting for the copyright claim to come through from Hasbro.
Only trans.
Would you call it Optimus Fine?
Oh, here we go.
You've already got the terminology out there. It's a winner.
Would it be a Jazz Mag? Jazz is a Transformer, by the way, people.
I bet you lots of
Would you have
people
to
would
hand them
want
down?
to see
Hand is also a
naked
Transformer.
pictures of me holding Bumblebee.
No,
I mean, I subscribe.
I'll take a few subscriptions.
I don't even know the Transformers, but I do anyway.
So, and this is the thing, I'm very aware that content that is just me that we produce doesn't get anywhere near the amount of attention. I'm very honest and see that all the time. The content where it's the two of us does we're quite lucky, as well as the stuff where it's just you, normally. But part of our thing, I hate the phrase brand, but if you're looking at Bed Hoppers as a thing, it's us two, and it doesn't work without the other, because if you put Mrs. H on the show or did just one thing, it wouldn't have any control, and it wouldn't have...
Be drunk. It'd be a drunken mess.
It would be an absolute
and it would be
mess.
so fucking offensive, because just the things that she says would
just be Cooper week after week after week.
Yeah, it would be.
It would just be me swearing in a corner with a box of cornflakes and a 6-pack of baby sham.
So
I don't know where this is going.
But with the two of us, I know that it's a fun thing, and plus we get to share it, and it is our therapy in a way. It's us talking through our stuff. So, I think when we move to the YouTube stuff and start doing more of that, there's an element where we can dial each other up a little bit and dial each other down a bit. But the reality is, again, it's us. And that's the bit that I want people to look at, because for us, this was about selling the non-monogamous lifestyle and helping people into that. And for the majority of people, it's couples that we're aiming that at, with some small exceptions. Mostly so that we can bring them in and fuck them later on. But
cold. That's not what we do. And, our scarves don't smell of chloroform or anything, just to put that out there.
There's a face mask.
Why am I so sleepy after this wine?
I went in the Bed Hoppers hot tub and I woke up with... No, I'm not even going to finish that.
4 days later.
With my own OnlyFans account.
Yeah, exactly. So what I do want to find out about, actually, is what are your long-term plans for this? Is this going to be a thing that goes on and has legs, assuming people keep subscribing? Or is there a point where you go, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore. What's your thoughts for the future?
We're going to build a fucking empire.
Excellent.
Wow.
Fuck empire.
Go
An
big.
empire of fuck.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, we're not. I just wanted to say that because that sounded cool.
Oh, Dr. Evil.
I think we don't have any plans for it. I think as long as we're enjoying it, we'll continue doing it.
Yeah.
The minute it becomes a ball ache, we won't. We've got just hearing what you guys were saying then, you couldn't do it necessarily. I think what you guys do is braver than what we do, because you actually put you out there and you talk. And it would be very hard for you to be you and to run on OnlyFans, because you've really committed to being you. Whereas we don't do that. We hide behind a Twitter account and an OnlyFans account, and we can control how much of us is out there. But, our real lives can just sit behind that, and we can get on with lives, whereas you've crossed that boundary. So what you're doing is harder and braver than what we're doing.
Something that, in a way, we'd love to do, but we're just not at the point yet where we can afford to do that.
So that's probably the goal. The goal probably is at some point to integrate our normal day-to-day lives into this, because we didn't set out. Look, we've got web domains. We've got plans for what we actually wanted to do. We wanted to be about sex positivity and body confidence and female empowerment and polyamory and all those subjects that are dear to us. And it would seem foolish not to use a platform we've created to do that now. So I think that would be the future.
The first lesson has been to become all of those things in ourselves. So OnlyFans has allowed it's allowed a better regimented place for me to build up my positivity in my body and myself and my sexuality. You've benefited from the platform.
I have. I've got laid.
You've got laid quite a fair bit.
I have got laid. The fact I had to say that twice with my internet cut out, it's upsetting. But I do get laid. Yeah, I think the future is that. I think it's we're not ashamed of our life. It's now trying to integrate the two parts that we've created for it and bring them closer together. And
but under our full control. So,
entirely.
So small things that we'll do that might not seem that small, but to us they are, it's things like the pricing structure on our OnlyFans. We started with, I think it's like $5 a month, which is probably like the average, bargain. But we didn't have that much content then. And then as we realised that actually pictures of our faces just happened to creep into some of our content, and it was harder to edit this stuff out. So we're like, no, let's just post it because it's a safer place because of all the rules of OnlyFans. So we started to increase the price because our faces are quite dear to us.
So you're saying it's more for a face shot?
Our identities. So we increased the price. And, it's a fun platform we just do for fun. So I played around with the pricing to see what is actually achievable, what people would actually pay to see. And we've settled on a pretty good way of doing it.
Yeah,
I know for
we're exclusive. We're not a Ford. We're a bit higher up the food chain because our prices are a little bit higher. So.
But I know for a fact that if we put it down to like $3 or whatever the minimum was, that we'd have a lot more subscribers.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
we're not. This isn't a kind of get them in cheap and fill them high kind of project for us. This isn't a how much money can we make type project at all. So. It's not about growing OnlyFans. Like OnlyFans is almost like our Instagram. So it's not anything other than a social media platform that we can use as adults. Like we tried using Instagram and we got busted in our real life by people we knew. And that wasn't what we should have been doing. So OnlyFans gives us that. So I think as long as we're enjoying it, we continue doing it.
Yeah. Until the sex admin becomes too much.
Yeah, but ultimately, like the skills that we have kind of in our careers and the kind of values we have, we'd like to be doing all of that stuff for ourselves. Like what you guys do, we think you're awesome, and you've inspired us loads.
So here's the port talk.
I like the port talking.
But seriously, no, it'd be awesome, wouldn't it? It'd be awesome to be able to talk openly as us about the things that we do and see and try and inspire people and change the perception of what this is. So that's the goal.
The only sort of tricky bit around that is, and that we've certainly found that, is that when people, if you are out there as just yourselves and your brand, again, I hate that phrase, but if your thing is you, if people don't like it, then that can hurt a lot more. That's the only thing I'd say, and we've certainly found that. And we've had reviews where people have been not so complimentary about
feels
things.
Personal, doesn't it?
But it is personal because you kind of do it because you're trying to make the world a better place in a nice way, and you're trying to entertain people and make them happy. And if they don't like, I don't know, for example, my impressions terrible. I've been slated in reviews and stuff, and I'm fine. I'm just having fun. But actually, it's quite hurtful the way people go about that, and because it is just us putting what we do out there. It can be quite mean and bloody horrible. So that's the only thing I would say, is that often having that screen in between you and that personality that you can put on, even if it's only a slight change to who you are, can give you just a little bit of defense against it.
Yeah, and you need to grow some broad shoulders, I think, once you are out there, because you do expose yourself a lot to, you know, like he says, like good and bad feedback, really. And, you know, on the whole, it's been really positive, which is nice, and it really boosts you and makes you think that it's all worthwhile. But it only takes like one or two negative people to kind of, and it does feel really attacking, because it is obviously they see your faces and they see your personalities, and it's an extension of us out there. So it feels hurtful when someone says something about you and they can see a face attached to that.
That's why you're braver. That's why you're braver than we are, because we you know, we said earlier that we have, this might ruin your continuity, but we said earlier that we haven't received that much negative or kind of issues on these platforms, and hopefully that, you know, kind of that continues. But
we get the odd, you know, shitty message on Twitter where it's a bit like rude.
It doesn't hurt as much.
Well, it's because, you know, they don't actually
know you.
You don't mean it at you. They're just trying to provoke a response because that's what they want, and you just block them and go.
It feels safer having a slight barrier of like our Twitter is it's mostly us, but there's also an element of fantasy and reality about that. And our OnlyFans is probably realer than our Twitter is in many ways, because it's you know, there's no talk, it's just stuff.
Apart from in the messages, I talk to all of our fans.
She talks to the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the difference, isn't it? In a funny kind of way. Like, there's so many people on Twitter and online, and everybody wants some attention, and everybody wants to be like, oh, hi, talk to me. But we get so many people that say things like, oh, I'm in a relationship with my wife, and she doesn't understand, and I can't do this. And we reply and we go, talk to her, talk to her, talk to her. And then they come back half an hour later and, yeah, I've talked to her, we're getting a divorce. And it's like, you're bullshit. You're full of bullshit. Stop talking to us. OnlyFans gives a nice level of almost trust to some degree, although we're not foolish. Gives us a nice level of, well, actually, you've had to give up quite some personal details to be on this platform. Like, not many people that are lurking around at midnight behind their wives' backs are joining OnlyFans, because actually it shows up on your credit card. It's a little bit more. It protects that. So instead of you talking to 10,000 people that constantly want your attention, you can talk to 20 or 30 regular people, build up relationships, and have what we're meant to have as, like, we're poly, therefore we want relationships. We don't want lots of sporadic sex.
I see. So this is a recruitment strategy, but a long-term one.
In some ways it is. Like, actually, I think, like, we've never met anybody off Twitter, off our Twitter. I think after lockdown we will be meeting people off our Twitter.
One can only hope.
That's been a change.
Yes.
You hope. That's been a change, I think. Actually, our Twitter was quite fanciful. It was kind of like real pictures, but it was fantasy stories that we put on there. Nowadays it isn't. It's much realer than it has been. So.
And there's some lovely people actually for OnlyFans. I mean, you don't get to see all the conversations I have with those people. I let you know about bits, but, like, I wouldn't say friendships, because that's not the right word to describe it, but there have been some nice conversations I've had with people, and I've actually got to know them, because surprisingly enough, I think people think that when you go into the DMs in OnlyFans, it's going to just be pure sexual carnage. It's not. No. Actually, I've had deeper conversations with some of the men that subscribe to that than I have with my sister. Like, it's made friendships.
Very different conversation.
Yes. But it's quite nice, actually. It's been interesting to talk to a different type of people that I wouldn't have otherwise spoken to.
A couple more questions. One is, actually, what would you say that you've learned over the last 2 years throughout this experience?
What have we learned? Beyond the kind of just knowledge of the platforms and that kind of stuff, we've learned actually not all seedy old men that pay for porn are actually seedy old men. They're actually real people with real needs and real feelings.
Quite nice, actually.
And actually quite nice by the time they get that far down.
The men and the women, because there are women that subscribe to our OnlyFans too, they... By the time they subscribed, we worked out that they're more legit, but they have good intentions, actually. And people that pay for porn do respect porn as more than just, you know, the free stuff you can get on platforms.
We watch a lot of porn, and individually before we meet each other, we watch a lot of porn. She watches a lot of porn. She watches a lot of porn all of the time.
Yeah.
And we used to have conversations in the early days around like, well, what porn actually gets you off? And it'd be like, you could be there for 2 hours flicking through Pornhub or whatever the site, looking for a piece of content that actually gets you off because it actually connects. It's either real, it's voyeuristic, it's whatever it be. And we used to talk about that quite a lot. And we used to share like, this gets me off, this gets me off. And in the end, making our own content gets us off the most.
Yes.
And what we've learned is, I suppose, porn isn't great. And I read someone say 85% of sex education comes from porn. Like that's disgusting and ridiculous considering the porn that's out there.
That's what I said to you, isn't it? Like, actually, when with my first boyfriend, who was like, "Oh, I'd really love you to suck my cock," I went straight to Pornhub and I searched how to give a blowjob on Pornhub, and I nearly vomited at the video because it was like a deep throat video, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
I think this is a problem with lots of bad experiences with various. That's okay. A couple of boys before we got together. This has been part of her empowerment. So what we've learned, I think, is this is feminism at its strongest, rather than this is seedy and dark and dirty and like this isn't a woman in trouble. And I think that's what we've learned, isn't it? Like actually, this is really empowering
and also. New dishwashers are amazing.
They really make your glasses clean.
I am so chuffed.
They literally gleam now. So I reckon we could actually do that to about 8 people, a dishwasher.
Yeah, I might go and individually thank every single one of them this evening.
There's a picture of 2 clean glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I'm allowed to ask a question now.
What's the question you're allowed to ask?
Well, I mean, obviously it wouldn't be as heinous as the one I would ask if I wasn't writing things.
Which you can ask afterwards.
Yeah, right. So what advice would you give to someone who is starting their OnlyFans account?
Make cool content. So there's a few things. Like if you want to do well with your OnlyFans account, make nice content. Like make authentic, nicely filmed, nicely edited, well lit, good sound. Like the general production value of making content still applies, even if there's tits and arse in it. Like it's still something we watch. And actually, there's more content on Pornhub than there is on Netflix. So actually, you've got to be better than to catch people's attention. So A, production value. Secondly, like don't like we've met some women. And those women have created accounts, and they're hot, beautiful, liberated women, but I think they think it's going to give them something it isn't going to fill a void.
No.
The attention you get from it isn't going to fill a void of a proper relationship or a proper communication with a real human being. And then it becomes a struggle. So actually don't take it too seriously, like if you can.
But also in that vein, don't expect it to be easy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will just be like, I'm just going to set up an OnlyFans. I'll make some money on my OnlyFans. But actually you've got to market that OnlyFans account. Like that's a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to it. It doesn't just happen. It's not just a profile that you can set up and hope someone finds. It's a full-time sex admin role. Like it's part of my routine of a day is to check OnlyFans a few times a day. Like it's not just something you can switch on over the weekend.
Yeah, without the Twitter, the OnlyFans doesn't work, of course. So actually, like creating an OnlyFans is only a tiny part of it. It's like creating a website. You've then got to work out to get people to that OnlyFans account. So I think people think that it's easier than it is. I'll create an OnlyFans, I'll make loads of money. And it's like, well, you might, but if you're, we didn't.
No.
It's like, you're going to make a lot of money. So,
Fleet of dishwashers.
Yeah, I'll say that. That's the biggest advice.
A lot of money is pocket money.
Just don't take it seriously. Like it should be fun. It should be like also, if you think of it as a social media platform, the same rules apply. Like, don't get lost in other people's content. Don't try and be someone you're not. All of those kind of rules that apply with just being you online still apply in OnlyFans. So.
Yeah, don't cheapen yourself.
Yeah, don't undervalue yourself. Like, everyone's got a value. And I don't mean like how much it is a month to subscribe to your OnlyFans. Because, you're worth so much more than that as a value. But, like, don't cheap out.
No.
Yeah.
You do you, but...
Yeah, there's lots of advice. There's advice for humanists, so how to be nice to the world. Here's our advice for OnlyFans. And then there's advice if you want to do well on OnlyFans, here's some advice. So we can help with both of those.
Levels of advice.
So I want to say a huge thank you to you both for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, not only to hear your voices, but also to see those lovely faces, which people will be able to get if they go to what website again and where?
If you say it, the algorithm won't show the post.
No, don't mention it in your Twitter post. Don't say that OF word.
Oh, the OF word. Okay.
But if they find us on Twitter, X,
Introverts Nerdy.
yeah, then you'll find our OnlyFans.
So go find them, folks. Subscribe, spaff up loads of money, chuck it all at them. They'll love it. They need a new dishwasher again. It'll run out.
Conservatory as well.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll enjoy their content. They are absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. And hopefully we'll get to see you soon.
Just hoping. Just want to say a huge thank you to the Nerdy Introverts. It was wonderful spending time with you both.
I particularly enjoyed watching how much port he consumed.
Really?
It was a descent into madness.
It was a little bit, but he did mention it once or twice.
You think?
So don't forget that port is available at your local supermarket. Please go out and get some and drink some now.
Questionable quality of the port, though.
Well, you know, you can't always have a good port at hand.
No.
But any port in a storm.
Yeah.
Anyways, go and check out Nerdy Introvert stuff. They're both delightful. They put out a lot of great content. Sign up to their OnlyFans, message them, check out Dem Boobs and all that stuff. That would be really cool.
Boobs.
Dem Boobs, Dem Titties.
Oh my God.
What?
Zig and zag again.
Dem Boobs, Dem Boobs. Not Dem Girls, Dem Girls. Anyway,
Oh dear.
go and check their stuff out. Have a look at them. Seek them out on Twitter. Find them. You know, get in touch with them if you like. If you have any thoughts or comments about OnlyFans or the last couple of episodes, please reach out to us in the normal places. Don't forget, we're on Twitter at bedhoppersuck. Bedhoppersuck. I don't even say the UK. Yeah. And also bedhoppersuck at gmail.com. So,
Excellent.
you know.
We really suck.
Yeah. And don't forget that we have been nominated for a ASN award.
Oh, yes.
For podcasting.
Of course. Yeah.
So if you fancy voting for that, Shears, and sort of
Or
going,
someone else.
or someone else, you know, feel free to vote for us or indeed anyone. Or if you've got a favourite venue that's mentioned in there, vote for them as well. Do that. Do it all at once.
Yeah.
You know.
There's probably a category for like favourite pet,
I don't think there is actually.
favourite supermarket.
Favourite bowl of cereal.
Oh my God. What would your favourite bowl of cereal be?
Oh, I do like porridge.
I thought you would have chosen granola if we're going for actual cereal.
Does it not? Does porridge not count as cereal?
I don't know.
Is this like Jaffa cake as a biscuit?
Or a cake?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think porridge does firmly fit into the category of breakfast paraphernalia.
But
so maybe
paraphernalia.
I don't know if it's a cereal. It's
Okay.
oats, isn't it?
I do like Lucky Charms,
Oh my
but
God.
they are not good for me.
They are diabetes in a bowl.
To be fair, yes. Yes, they are, which is why they taste so good. I do like granola, but
See, I quite miss Cocoa Pops because
Really?
I'm not 12 anymore, but
you could still eat Cocoa Pops.
I shouldn't though.
Or Cocoa Puffs, the off-brand version or whatever it is.
Never the off-brand version.
Choco Puffs.
I like it when you used to go to hotels. Look at me reminiscing about days of Norm. And you used to get like the little mini packets of cereal on the little buffet thing in a hotel.
I like
at
going to
breakfast.
hotels and fucking other people.
Brilliant. Well, way to bring the conversation down, Mr. H. Here was me reminiscing about good, wholesome things like cereal in tiny packets. And you're like, I just like to fuck people.
I love going to a hotel and having a bowl of cereal. 'cause
I
it's
do
so
enjoy
exciting.
breakfast in hotels.
If you want me to buy you mini bowls of cereal,
No, it's not the same. I want it in a hotel.
you want it in a hotel.
Best cereal, please. I want to know what sort's out there.
Like, what I hated about those fucking little mini boxes of cereal is how mini they
They're
were.
amazing.
That's never enough in there.
Brilliant in a tiny box.
For a greedy bastard like myself.
Just have two.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't have two of the same flavour.
What?
What? What was that noise?
I'm just gobsmacked at your inability to just cope with one tiny box of cereal.
It's crap. I
It's
mean,
not.
and then you're like, oh, I can only find one box of Cocoa Puffs or Pops and then one box of cornflakes or Frosties. So I then have to combine them in one thrilling mix of
I don't
sugary
even know you
heaven.
anymore. You eat pizza with a knife and fork, and you're talking about mixing tiny cereal
It's
boxes.
desperate times, calls for desperate measures.
What about sugar puffs?
They make your wee smell funny.
I know, like asparagus.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Anyways, Mrs. H, do you want to do your thing?
Yeah. Fancy breakfast cereals now.
Yeah, thanks for hopping into our bowl.
Oh, goodness. All right, okay. Thank you for hopping into our bed.
Right, okay. Oh, do you want me to intro this?
I think it's best.
Okay, we'll have done an intro already that says blah, 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 or whatever, and then we'll do the interview music. And then...
Can you do your intro for us?
The intro? No, you're not.
Normally I have to scrub it. It's like a minute I have to scrub.
That's fine. Well, the actual singing and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I've heard it so many times now.
Yeah,
obviously, I don't want to hear it every time. So
it makes me listen to it all the time.
If you could do that live, that would be awesome.
Oh, indulge them.
I don't have my ukulele with me, so I'm okay. And plus, I always forget how to play my own theme song, which is brilliant. That's why I made a whole YouTube clip telling me how. It wasn't for anybody else. It was just so I could go back and remember how to do it.
Your own private wank fantasy.
Exactly that. Somewhere I have on a bit of paper the original notes for it. I'm hoping that it will one day be worth as much as Imagine, but I'm guessing it probably won't be.
So the piano you wrote it on.
Yeah, exactly.
The ukulele.
Wow.
The ukulele with Adventure Time all over the side.
The ukulele he once strummed with his fingers.
Exactly.